Hello students of class 12. Today we'll be moving on to the next chapter in Vistas, that is On the Face of It, which is written by Susan Hill. Now, talking about Susan Hill, she's an English author. She generally wrote fiction, and even she's written a few non-fiction books as well. She won the highest award of Somerset Maugham Award in 1971 for a novel, I'm the King of the Castle. And she's quite a renowned author. She's known to explore the inner fears and loneliness. Her works reflect honest sufferings and optimism of human beings. In this story, children, which we're going to do, we've got three main characters. The first is a Derry, who's a young little 14-year-old boy, whose one side of the face is burnt. And then is Mr. Lamb, an old man who lives all alone in a house. He's on his own, and he suffered an injury because of which he has lost his leg. And then a lesser important character, that is Derry's mother, the 14-year-old boy's mother. On the face of it, like you're reading here, is an expression which means that something is good when we take a glimpse of it, but upon a closer look, it's not so, or vice versa. When you're taking something at face value, okay, when you see things from a distance, it may look very impressive, you may be drawn to it, but once you come closer to it, you'll find that it's not that good after all. This chapter, children, it's basically, about a small little boy named Old Boy who just accidentally wanders into somebody's personal area, and he just jumps over the wall, and there he's just trying to roam around that place, where suddenly he's confronted by an old man who's sitting on a chair, and he just warns that boy. He says, mind you, the apples there, you're going to trip, you may fall. So the boy is scared and he wants to run away, but the old man, he relaxes him and tells him, okay, you can come in, you don't have to worry about anybody, because I believe you're all alone. So after a great deal of persuasion, the boy somehow manages to come closer, but he just strikes a conversation with that old man who sits there. And the old man very soon realizes that Derry is generally on the defensive side, and because he straight away starts giving an explanation that don't think I've come here to steal anything. I've not come here to steal, okay? I just accidentally wandered here. So he said, the old man says, but I saw you jumping over the wall. So Derry again goes back into the defensive. He says, that means you were looking at me, you were watching me. He says, no, I was not watching you, I was just looking that side. I just happened to see you. So just get into a conversation, and the old man notices that Derry has gone so much into a defensive mode that he confronts almost everything that you may say. So it so happened, that this boy, he had lost one side of his face. Actually, his one side of the face had been burnt up because of an acid, which had fallen on his face. So the boy had become extremely conscious of his looks, and for that reason, he would never get close to anybody. So when this old man, he tries to get close to him, Mr. Lamb, he does not want Mr. Lamb. He thinks that Mr. Lamb is having pity on him, and that's the reason he's just feeling piteous for him. He's just trying to sympathize with him. And the old man realizes that Derry had become very repulsive, and he had developed a very negative attitude towards life. Whereas Mr. Lamb, on the other side, even he had lost one leg in war, but despite losing that leg, he had still managed to retain his optimism in his life. So here, the child Derry had become so conscious of his ugly side of his face. Mr. Lamb tries to console him, giving his own example, but he found that he was not able to console Derry at all. So he generally feared everything. He feared human beings. He never wanted to come close to human beings. And Lamb realizes that it is probably because human beings had been cruel to him, and he felt hurt because of the comments made by the people who are close to him. On further persuasion, he comes to know that the child feels that even his mother kisses him only on one side of his cheek, the side which is not burnt. Even his mother loved him conditionally. So the old man realizes that it's because of such reasons that Derry has really closed down. He's become an introvert. He does not want to mix around with anybody. He fears that people may hurt him. He's already hurt. So Lamb slowly and gradually tries to penetrate more and more into the dark realities of Derry, and he tries to explore the reasons, and he very soon finds out. So he wants to open him up. He wants him to become a more extrovert person despite all his limitations. So Lamb tries to convince Derry that it's the inner beauty of a person that matters, but somehow Derry does not agree, and he once again comes out with another episode of what had happened in his life, where he found two ladies talking about him, and there's one is telling the other lady that who would love a face like this? Only a mother could love a face like this. How would anybody even kiss him on his face? So whenever he heard all this, he felt hurt. So Lamb tells him, why are you so much affected by whatever people talk about you? That means you have learned to react to what people say. Your problem is that you take in everything, you absorb whatever people talk about you. That is the reason you allow yourself to be hurt. Why not filter? Why not filter all that you hear? If you can hear good sounds, if you can hear good noises, then that means your ears can distinguish between good and bad sounds, good and bad voices. So you filter, you start filtering now. Take in only the positive things, which can help you to become a more open person, a more extrovert person. All the things that affect you adversely, leave it. Don't let your ears hear it. And even if it does, you should not be affected by it. Mr. Lamb gives his own example that his entire body, although it was in perfect condition, but he was not able to walk, and talk like all the other people because of his leg. So Mr. Lamb told Derry, that there are so many interesting things, that you can find all around. He gave his own example. He tells him, that I keep myself preoccupied most of the time. I read books, although I live here all alone, I read books most of the time. This house you're seeing, it's got a big library inside. I indulge in making beehives. I hear the buzzing of the bees, the flowers in the garden, and I listen to the sounds of the birds and insects, and I enjoy sitting here in the sun. Derry, slowly and gradually, he starts getting inspired by Mr. Lamb, and he reveals that even he dreams of having a big house and a big lawn. So Mr. Lamb tells him, you can come and stay with me anytime that you want. But he says, that's your house. He says, so what? What is mine is even yours. What you need to feel is, the openness. And I'm always here. I'm waiting. You can come back anytime. But he says, what if I come back and there's nobody, you're all alone? He says, no, it's not like that. There are many children who come here. Their children come here, they sit with me, they play, they eat candies and everything. So the boy gives it a thought, and then he says, what if I come back and find that all the other children have decided to run away from you because they're scared of me, scared of my face? Then Mr. Lamb says, if you think I'm moved, I'm not. Because you cannot keep indulging in self-pity. You have indulged too much in self-pity. You just keep pitying yourself. I'm not at all influenced by what you have said. I'm here. You can come back anytime if you want. So he says, what if my mother does not allow me to come back? He says, yes, you can always use that as an excuse. So Derry says, no, I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm a small little boy. And he says, so what? You are okay. You're physically fit. You can come back. You've got legs. You don't have a tin leg like me. And if you want, you can come back. So Derry now feels, that somehow this old man feels that I may not come back. He says, you don't know what I can do. If I want, I will. Lamb says, exactly, child, the point that I was coming to. If you want, that is what the question is. If you want, you can do anything. That is what it replies for all human beings. If you want to come back, you will, no matter who stops you. Then the boy goes running. He goes to his house. When he goes back, his mother does not want him to come back. And the mother is very concerned. She asks him, where he had been. The boy tells his mother that he had been to Mr. Lamb's house there. So she's quite perturbed. She says, why did you go there? All the people in the vicinity, in the neighborhood, they've been telling us you should not be going there. He's a weird old man staying there all alone. So now the boy starts speaking in the language of lamb. He says, what makes you think he's weird? Just because he's got a tin leg? Just because he lives there all alone? Just because he thinks he stays there and he observes everything? He learns so much. So he says, no, child, you're not going to go back there. The boy says, mother, I have to go. She says, no, you're not going to go. He says, mother, I need to go back there, because if I do not go there, I will never be able to face the world. And the mother tries to stop him, but the child just runs out of the house, and then he comes back to Mr. Lamb's house. And when he enters the gate, he finds that Mr. Lamb has placed a ladder against the tree, and off he falls from the ladder. So this boy goes running to him, and the moment he goes there running to Mr. Lamb, he calls out, Mr. Lamb, Mr. Lamb, Mr. Lamb, and Mr. Lamb is not able to respond. He has fallen off the ladder and he has died. So, children, it ends there and leaves us all on a thinking note. It's basically this old man, although he died, but he was able to open up Derry towards the end. And then Derry, hopefully, he was able to develop a more positive attitude towards life, and he could live a much better life. So that's what the story is all about, children. Thank you. And if you still have any doubts, you can get back to me anytime. Thank you all so much.